Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully this works in his favor. He's seen Meomaika's hand a little bit, like a Lotterling roach was thrown at him and that. The only thing he otherwise has to be careful of is just switching it up, throwing out the Nidus, throwing out the proxy hash, that sort of stuff that he may very well choose to do, but it seems like he's reeled it in a lot. He's playing a little bit more normally by Meomaika standards, so hopefully getting that confidence boost off another PvZ win. He will be able to make some magic happen here and maybe, just maybe, get to the player. But over here in the top right, this man is standing in his way. His name is Meomaika.
In the bottom left, as the green Protoss, it is Blysk.
And after this match, folks, the winner will be going up against Setha. Why, though, you may ask, as they've both gotten out of the group? Well, it will be for seeding in the playoffs bracket. So that match still got a bit of value for these guys, because that top 8 is going to be pretty tough. But we'll see who makes it there, as Mio goes for hatch first. Which is actually sometimes a little bit surprising, because he does very much like his pull first or gas and pull first in most matchups.
Yeah, I mean, versus Protoss, I don't want to say it's like always a good thing, because it really isn't. It's just, if you are going to be kind of with the idea like I'm going to throw my opponent off in general, then that's what a pull first can do. And you're testing their ability to kind of like adapt to a pretty regular thing, sure, but as we saw, Blysk did falter on a lot of regular Protoss things that he, again, probably doesn't off stream, like letting Lings in. On this map, in fact. Hope he's not too traumatized by it.
Yeah, hopefully he's nice and warmed up now. He's forgotten his past sins and he's ready to take himself to victory. Keen to see what strategy he goes for this time round, though, because from the matches we've seen so far, he has been doing those two bases. He's been, throwing out those adepts, trying to charge a lot push as well. And if I were Blysk, the question for me would be do I stick with that idea? Because this guy always has so many units early game and in the mid game as well. He doesn't drone up that hard. Are my pushes going to be getting shut down before they even start? Or do I go ahead with the plan? Because like you mentioned, he did actually put himself in pretty good positions. He just couldn't quite make it happen.
Yeah, this is like one of the situations where I really hope that Blysk took the time, especially since he 2-0'd his other opponent, to go back in the replays and look at what happened. Not just in okay, I get it. I shouldn't be attacking this guy because he's going to be prepared, just through his own aggression. But also in the very last game, when he felt the necessity to all in, I guess, and it was a question of well, did he really? Because Meomaika never has a real strong macro plan. So hopefully he doesn't tap out of games that maybe he could actually show his strengths on. So that's it's all reasons why I think he'll do better here. I am liking that once again he's opening up with a Robo. I mean, what is a Robo opener actually straight up weak to? It's hard to say anything nowadays with how potent these 2-base Immortal Sentry All-ins have become.
Yeah, I mean, because paired with the Sim City at the wall that we've seen Blysk do, and Protosses pretty much always have a wall anyway unless they screw something up. I mean, what are they going to throw at you that you can't sort of hold there and let the Immortal sort of pick away at everything, whether it's Lings or Roaches or whatever. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. It's a strong opener, and again we see the Warp Prism following up after that first Immortal there.
Yeah, so this was, I believe, what he did last time they were on this map, game number 1. And this time he just won't let the Lings through. The other thing that I want to critique here, and granted I haven't been paying super close attention to his gas, and he has been doing some very low gas builds where he just never takes the natural base gases. But I feel Blysk never quite has as many sentries as I am used to seeing from other Protosses, right? And then again, could be the build kind of went haywire or something like that, but I feel more sentries equals more good, especially because Meomaika has not actually been, like, too great with his Corrosive Biles. And I'm talking, like, he sometimes didn't use them for force fields, and then other times he, like, tried to hit a Warp Prism and straight up missed. Which, I don't want to be, like, too harsh on the critique, but it's not something I've seen since, like, Corrosive Bile was, like, introduced. Which, when it was introduced, like, it made certain players missing all the time. So, that's something I'd like to see, like, an adaptation. But, regardless of all that, of course, we see a Dark Shrine, which I thought he was going to do in, like, 2 of the games last series. And he finally does here. So the Dark Templar version of the Archon drop, with charge lots included, if he so decides to actually do, like, an attack.
And I actually really, really love this decision, because guess who doesn't have detection? Guess who tends to cut corners on detection quite frequently? I mean, we saw it in the last series as well against the Banshees. So this could be a really nice way to get ahead. Now, there are Ravagers at his front door, and the DTs have to be warped in defensively. Oh my god, get back in there. Oh my god.
Oh, no.
Please, please.
No.
Oh, no. Zombie
Not
Grub.
again. Not again.
Not like this.
Oh god. And I'm gonna be like the person and be like, well, like, he has enough gas for a century. Whatever, no centuries. Oh god.
Well, it was looking up. It was looking up, but unfortunately Blysk has made a small mistake that is costing him greatly once again. And now the Ravagers are still here. They're chewing through. I mean, he's cleaning this up pretty well. 13 probes is definitely not as bad as the 40 we saw him lose the first time around. He's still got 3 Immortals, a bunch of DTs. What can he do with this?
Still a lot of things, actually. Because the worker count ends up being even, now he can go and be the aggressor. He can go ahead and do the Archon drop, or the Immortal drop if he still wants to continue with that. I don't know if he wants to attack, again, based off of their previous best of 3. We still have to talk about how Meomaika doesn't really go back into the droning phase like others would. So Blysk might actually be better off just going for a 3rd Nexus here. But you can keep up the harassment. There's basically nothing telling you that you can't. Especially because Meomaika is, as you've pointed out, like, a little low on the Queen sometimes. This time his Queens are actually in position, so that's nice, but Blysk misses the army with this Warp Prism, and that might be the bigger issue here. Oh, nope, Meomaika pulls back.
Okay. Well, that works in his favor.
Okay.
He's actually going to continue and warp in a little bit here, getting some DTs. There is a Spore, and of course Lair is done as well, but it's going to add a little bit of extra beef to the army with those Zealots. And he will head out here. And that was the whole army pulled back to help deal with that. And Blysk has actually taken the opportunity to move the rest of his army out in the middle map. That makes me a little bit nervous, to be honest, because of how much Mio has. But he's actually going for it. He looks like he wants to push.
Gosh, I feel like Blysk is like zigging when he should be zagging, right? Like, this is...
Yeah.
It feels like to me like it just is like, no, just macro and let Meomaika tire himself out, the words you used earlier. But this is a small Roach Ravager army, all things considered, at best, with 4 Immortals and 4 Archons. So he might be able to win with this.
Decent force fields to start off with. Not a lot of buffer here. Is really just those Archons on the front lines. He's doing his best to keep these units alive too. Pretty nice control from Blysk. But it is a little bit of a chunky army. He does have to pull back, get another warp in happening, and Neo is going to take the opportunity to try and chew down a few more of those Immortals. 2 of those very hurt, but still alive. And Blysk maybe going to head around towards that 3rd base.
That kind of turned around on Blysk for a second, but then turned around on Meomaika towards the end there. You see, you got a little too trigger happy on the remaining low health Archons and Immortals. So we're back to a bit of a weird position where Blysk, I mean, he's getting his 3rd Nexus, but it wasn't started like as he was pushing out. It was kind of started like during that attack. And Meomaika still has the opportunity to maybe surprise Blysk with the overall amount of army that he has. And he gets the Warp Prism in both Immortals, so now it is the time to go across the map and try and make this work.
Yeah, this could be the right moment. There's still a fair bit of beef here, and Blysk moves out of position momentarily, but he moves back as he sees these Lings sweep in. Just got to watch the Biles a little bit. And they're not well positioned, so not too much of a difficulty for him there. A couple of force fields, and Mio does back up there. Shield Battery is going to help out with the defense here as well.
Nicely done. All things considered, Meomaika's armor supply was not that great going up against what Blysk had, right? Only 20, 30 army supply. But also the lack of Warp Prism was like the only concern I really had. But you know what? He actually warped in a bunch of sentries. He had the shield batteries, and there was no way that Meomaika was going to make that work. I'm still so scared that Blysk somehow throws this, though, just based off of previous experience. But I think if he just chills out, gets to like that more like 150, 160 supply, and just watches for the army, doesn't get surrounded, then he should be fine.
Yeah. Should be good to go. Mio heading towards that 4th base. Still sitting on a fairly low working out, sub 50 as usual. Still got a lot of units happening, but he's actually getting some Bane speed in here. Still hasn't hit the tech too hard, I guess. He's pretty content most of the time to sit on the lair tech. I mean, you pointed out before, it takes a while to even head up towards Hive later on in the game. But look on the production tab of Blysk, on the other hand. You know, he's dropping a fair bit more. He's got a Warp Prism drop happening here as well. He's got a lot coming up for him, and I quite like his position.
Yeah, I'm actually like super happy about what Blysk is doing. I guess he's gonna go Disruptors. We saw that last time, but I wouldn't even mind Colossus. Colossus have a tough time, I guess, like hitting through the Roach buffer, but they do pretty well if you can get to numbers of 3 or 4 against those Banelings, right? Whereas Disruptors, like, sometimes they miss the Banelings. You know, if you're getting surrounded and Disruptors go off, they don't actually hit before the Banelings hit you. Maybe the old Disruptors would, ones that exploded on contact, but not the current ones are with. So Colossus is a little more dependable, is what we usually say about them, right? And I would like to see them. Okay, he is going to go Colossus. Nice.
Okay, cool. There's a Spire on the way for Mir, so he can get something out to deal with that a little bit more and maybe close the distance on those units. But we'll see how that pans out. I really like that Blysk is continuing the harassment here with that Warp Prism. 2 DTs heading one way, gonna head and heal some charge lots the other. Just gotta be careful not to lose that Warp Prism. It's such a valuable tool. But looks like he might be able to poke down a couple of drones.
It is gonna be a little trapped, maybe? Maybe. Or get freely into the main base. And warp in more. Alright. No queen in the main, so that Warp Prism is going to do more damage.
Not many drones there either, but he could actually get the lair because Mio's actually heading across the map. He doesn't really care right now. He's sending a small force back to try and deal with this. But otherwise he's going for a big frontal push, morphing in some more Banes here. The first Colossus is out. Extended Thermal Lance not here just yet though, and a second Colossus on the way. So if Blysk can just hold on long enough to get the second Colossus, it'll be a little bit easier on him. But this is a lot of Zerg, and he's coming in from 2 angles here.
Well, that's a good setup for the Zerg player. But the army of the Protoss is actually still really chunky. Even as the Banelings hit a little bit there. They're just talking about a lot of Archons. And the Mortal's still alive as well. Blysk should be fine.
Yeah, he's doing a great job here. Not many force fields available to him, but he places them well, and it's really hard for the Zerg army to close the distance. GG, Blysk takes game number 1, looking much better in this series.
Yeah. I still I'm like a little scared whenever he pushes out into Meomaika, who just doesn't stop making units once he's at like 45 drones.
Yeah.
But in that case, it actually worked out pretty well. His micro was on point. He was able to use that Warp Prism. And I like his macro behind it. I just want to see more of that.
Yeah, no, that went well. I feel like almost it's like a force of habit for Blysk when that stuff happens for him to move out and try and push, because it's like, oh no, the Zerg's going to have so many drones, I need to do something. But you kind of have to adjust that mentality for Mia and go, well, hang on. Let's be real. He's probably got 40 drones, so I don't need to panic right now. I can just get a third and have a nice time, because that's basically what happened in that game. He got up to 60 probes, got all his tech out, and he could see that Mia was just really going for the second big attack, which was going to be much more smooth. I feel like he had a lot more control in that game as well. He was able to actually do a bit of harassment with the Warp Prism and keep tabs on his opponents, so that's a lot more like the Blysk that I remember, and I'm happy to see.
Good stuff, yeah. I think what you said about him having just like changed his perception of his opponent, of like the matchup, right? Just playing more to the player, since most other Zergs would like, oh, my attack didn't work, here, let me try and fit in 10 drones. We'll do him like better and better as he faces Meomaika in at least a game number 2. But I'm glad to see that he really has, like, shaken off the rust, you know, kind of adapted to his play, but also got that confidence back from the other PVs he had to play. And is looking actually really good. He got to not just, like, win that game, but also show off what you're talking about, like the highlights of his macro play and his micro.
Yeah. Alrighty. So we're hopping into Cyber Forest for game number 2. And then, okay, so this is actually going to be, sorry to segue awkwardly here, guys. This is going to be the last match that we pop up on stream. We just got clarification from production that because they've advanced to the playoffs, we don't actually need to do the seeding. That works a little differently. So this will be actually the last match for the night. So that means you have to be extra hype. Seether will get himself the top seed because he was from the winner's bracket, of course. He had a nice smooth ride there to advance to the playoffs. And Blysk or Mio will be hopping into that second seed. So all good. We don't have to play that extra match there, folks. Would have loved to see it anyway, but I'm sure we'll see some good ones in the playoffs anyway. So just to let you guys know what's going on. The last one for the night. I'm actually a little bit sad. It feels kind of short.
Yeah, with the lower bracket playing out while we were doing the winners, like it does feel a little short. Oh well. More games on Thursday and Tuesday and next Thursday and all that.
Yeah, Tuesday and Thursday. And just while we load in, actually, if we look ahead into the future, Thursday's going to be Group B, which will be Demi, Pez, Crimson, and Pig. So it is going to be a ZVP fest once again. Because don't forget, folks, Pig is actually playing Protoss for this tournament. So looking forward to watching that one as well.
Ugh, traitor.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Alrighty. It's Cyber Forest. And in the bottom right, he is up 1-0. His name is Blysk.
In the top left, as the blue Zerg, it is Meomaika.
Yeah. Back to his pull first ways.
Yeah, alright. So, a little bit of early pressure, make the Protoss panic. I think it's more embarrassing than losing your first pylon to like 6 lings. Zerg's like packering behind it.
Yeah, definitely sting, but Blysk is going to head over with the probe scout, and he can dip in there and just be like, oh, okay, I'm going to make me a zealot real quick. Even go for the pylon block on the natural. I actually don't see him do that too much, but I like it.
That's very bothersome. Meomaika was hoping that he would cancel it once the drone kind of did the whole like, oh, I'll take the other third. But
yeah,
it is... Okay, there we go, there's the cancel.
Yeah. Alright. Not too bad. Not ideal, but hey, it's way better than having to go and take the third as your natural. That gets pretty awkward, especially for someone who doesn't like spreading creep between their bases. Not the ideal situation.
It's a very good point. It's actually, like, the best point, probably, about it. But I wonder if that's something that Blysk could actually, like, intentionally do then. Because he could have let that pylon finish.
Yeah.
Mess up your builder a little bit, but if it's going to, like, dramatically mess up the Zerg, then, like, go for it. But this is... Okay. Alright. Early proxy pylon coming through here.
Okay, Blysk switching it up. Now, we do have some lings visiting over here.
Okay, well, I literally, you know what I brought up? Do you think it wouldn't happen?
You know, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Okay.
Oh my god. We've seen like... some weird stuff tonight, ZombieGrub. Sometimes I just don't know what's happening. But, yeah, okay, so this is really not great. He's has to fight. I don't think he needs all of his probes right now. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. You don't need to pull all their probes against this.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Oh, LOL, no. What was I doing?
Oh,
I'd hate to say it, but I would also like to know. All right. let's just forget that one happened, folks. Poor Blysk kind of messed himself up there.
Yeah. I'd like hate to. I think we all know that Blysk knows what he did.
I don't think we need too much analysis on that one.
Yeah,
oh, no.
yeah.
Oh, that's the worst feeling.
It absolutely is. Like, I thought this might be the harshest critique ever, but it's something that I do.
Oh
just
my God. Oh.
He's talking about in chat how like his mind went blank and he meant to make a zealot, and a zealot would have changed everything. But it's also one of those things where it's not just that your mind went blank temporarily, so you didn't make a zealot. It's that your mind just continued to go blank. Because, like, even if you don't have the zealot, if you pull the probes, it doesn't usually stop the pylon from going down, I think. Unless you, like, really pull the probes, like, in anticipation. But it was just the 6 links.
Yeah.
So if he had just, like, stayed calm and let his X's finish and rebuild a pylon, like, he actually would have been fine. Ugh.
I think Blysk has always been a mindset player to me. Like, as soon as his mindset is broken, things go downhill really fast. So actually knowing how he sort of plays and goes in those situations, leaving, probably not the worst decision for him personally, because he probably would have thought about that the entire game and ended up sort of messing himself up even more. So it was a short one, folks, sorry. But we're heading into game number 3 shortly. I think we can all appreciate that this stuff happens to every one of us at some point in StarCraft.
Yeah, it's always the worst when it happens on a broadcast, isn't it?
Yeah, and a WCS qualifier too. That's not ideal, but all we can do is queue up for the next game, right?
Yeah, and that's what Blysk has to do here. Just let that last game go.
Yeah,
it does put him now in a position where, like, if he had gained confidence from the lower brackets EVP that we didn't get to see, if he had gained confidence for that, I feel like it's just gone now. And Meomaika might be in his head again. And I would hate to see him lose game number 3 because he like, all things considered, he might actually be the better player when he doesn't make really silly mistakes.
Yeah. Well, I think he is. In the long run, I definitely think he is. But he's got to keep that head screwed on tight. And we're on Kairos Junction. It's going to be the last map of the night, folks. And in the bottom right, he is Meomaika.
In the top left, as the green Protoss, he is Blysk.
I wonder if you're Blysk, would you try and do whatever proxy dealio he was going to go for again, or are you going to turn a new leaf and move right along?
Gosh, I would go back to just, like, only looking at my base, you know? And that wasn't really... The problem wasn't that he wasn't looking at his base, but I do think some of the problem was, like, I'm thinking about doing a Stargate. I'm gonna proxy the Stargate. I'm gonna attack with a Stargate. I'm gonna attack with a Stargate. And then suddenly Lings are in your base. So, like, if he doesn't have to focus on something else, then he'll never make, like, the mistake again. And actually, like, you know the Despicable Me meme where he, like, is flipping through the presentation?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was like. It was like, first I proxy the Stargate, then I forget a Zealot. Wait, I forgot a Zealot. Like,
yeah.
He dies. Feels bad.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're right. Let's just keep it simple here, go back to what he knows best, and hopefully we have a nicer time and a longer game. That might have been the shortest WCS game I've seen ever? I don't know. I'm pretty sure I've seen a 6-pool drone pool one time, but
Oh, that would have been a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah. The shortest game I've got to see is, like, Scarlet did a early pool and killed the pylon, and it was like a 215 or something like that, because it was like an actually early pool, not just a pool first.
Yeah.
It was insanely fast. The guy just tapped out. But that wasn't even a WCS, event, so that's I mean, a little more excusable. It just really, really sucks. Blysk does automatically get the Zealot even before we have the Scout off, I think.
Yep. Probe finally gets taken out there. Looks like Mio is heading out with his own lings. May look towards a third base eventually. I can never quite predict when he's actually going to take a third base. But yeah, Blysk has gone back to what he knows, and that is a nice, comfy robo friend building there at the front. And he's done really well with the robo. As we've seen so far, you know, win or lose, this has kind of been the go-to strategy for him, as it is for a lot of Protosses. So let's see what he ends up doing with this. If he continues to Warp Prism harass as he has been.
I guess to be fair about that last game, a proxy Stargate probably would do a lot of damage to Meomaika.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he just doesn't... He's had even, like, against a Terran, he was pretty late to Spore Crawler, so... I'd imagine versus a proxy Stargate, he would not be prepared. And as such, like, maybe that would have been a good idea to do again, but if it takes away your focus, then you don't do it. And this is so much more just, like, looking at your own base, only focusing on what's coming next macro-wise. Very early gases. I think this is the earliest I've seen him take his natural gases in, like, all 6 games.
I think you're right. We'll see what tech he throws out here. As he does pull out the Warp Prism, I think those lings just barely miss it, maybe, on the way out. And he hasn't had that Overlord sitting at the natural all this time or anything, so he does need to be a little bit wary. He knows there's a robo, right? So it looks like he's going to go past this Overlord anyway. He gets a little bit of advance warning, but he actually has no units at home, except for Queens, so this could be nice.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit of damage. Nice force field at home. One of the mistakes he made in the very first game of the day that shouldn't have, bit him in the butt as much as it did, but it did, was that he didn't, he hallucinated a Phoenix instead of, like, saving up force field energy.
Oh,
but
yeah,
with the Warp Prism, he doesn't really need to hallucinate a Phoenix. Like, I mean, that's not always fair, because sometimes there are, like, super early Spires, but and they do a great job of denying the Warp Prism from scouting, but this is the plus of having a Warp Prism, even if it is only 2 Adepts, is that you're scouting, so if you don't see a Spire, maybe you see, hey, it's not a lot of drones in the third. Unfortunately, Meomaika doesn't get a lot of drones in the third, so it's not exactly a read, but it's something.
But he does get a read here in the sense that he goes, okay, you have a lot of roaches and lings. You have nothing on your third base except those 2 drones I just saw you put there. And with that, he can go home because he's heading into more gateways. He's got charge on the way and heading straight into Storm for a change this time.
I mean, I predicted the Templar Archives of how early his gases were, right?
Yeah.
But I was like, is he going to get, like, super early Storm as well? I mean, these are pretty early, and yeah, he does. Don't leave that wall open. Thank you. But is it just defensive? It seems like it is. He gets a third Nexus, and the Lings don't go towards it. They just lose their lives attacking into a walled-off Protoss.
Yeah.
And Storm's going to be quite helpful against what Meomaika is going to throw at him.
Yeah. And this is going to be a nice change for Blysk as well, because the 2 bases he ran into a lot of units, so this is sort of going back a couple of steps, focusing more on that third base, building up a chunkier army. He's going to have a lot of fun engaging something as squishy as a Ling Roach sort of attack. He's still sitting pretty comfortably in his natural, just using that position to defend as he gets up a shield battery at the third, and then he can sort of sit between them. But yeah, he's had a pretty nice start to the game, up at almost 50 workers. Mio's only just hit that himself, and this is usually the point that he kind of stopped. He is popping 3 overlords, so yeah, there's the big production of units. Kind of curious to see if he decides to add any more drones on, but I feel like he's done.
These 2, I feel... Nope, hold on. 3, 4, 5. All right.
Okay. Wow. All right.
It's the most we've seen.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Well, that's going to do really well for Blysk, I feel like. He did maybe delay a +1 more than, like, if he was truly being greedy, maybe he could have gotten the Forge a little bit faster, but otherwise he's so well set up for a mid-game with his army already with a lot of Immortals. The only thing I was worried about is, again, that sentry count. like maybe it was a little low if an attack was coming in. But since an attack, if it does come, isn't really going to be that strong of one, it's not like that all-in, those all-ins we've seen before. I think Blysk is in a fantastic position, but he does want to get a scout on these Overlord drops. And, speed kicking in, he's not going to be able to do it. Damn.
Just barely. Alright. Well, this is the kind of thing that can throw Blysk for a loop. He's usually not prepared for this kind of thing. So I am a little bit worried, to be honest. But we'll see what happens. It's a big force too, and he's kind of split in two at the moment, like, because he's been going around that sort of like wall in the middle of the map. He does spot that big force though, so he's gonna push back a little bit. And now those overlords are starting to arrive in the main. So what does he have available? Does he have warp-ins available? Because he just did a bunch at the third.
Doesn't look like it. He is... No, he's not splitting his army. Okay, he recalls Zealots to the main. Well, there's armies over here, but he jumped on top of the High Templars. But the storms are still so good. Oh god, no. Alrighty then.
Well, he is losing a lot of probes still as he tries to clean this up. There's nothing in the natural at the end of the day, so he's only been dealing with the main and trying to be dealing with this force the third at the same time. And he's actually moving away from the third right now as that army comes back in. So Blysk getting pulled apart a little bit here. There's still one Ling getting a lot of extra kills in the main base too, and Mio's not done. He's made a bunch more units and he's continuing to poke at that third base. So alright, looks like he's finally going to pull back and regroup, but that was a solid amount of damage.
That was a lot. Meomaika in a position on 4 bases with 66 drones can actually do a great job of just overwhelming this army now that he got such a powerful first attack. If the Overlords were scouted or if Blysk hadn't pushed out when he did, I think this is a very different game where, like, not only does he still have all of his immortals, which is the best thing going for him right now, but he also still has 60 workers, or at least 50, right?
Man.
But now it's like a little more questionable. Meomaika might just be able to overwhelm him with economy and production, which is not what we've been talking about the last 5 games from this guy.
I think you're right. I honestly can't believe you said 66 drones and Meomaika in the same sentence. Like, blew my mind just there because it's not often you see him get to this point. But he's going to head out here and try and catch these roaches. There's another group up north, though. Does have a lot of storms. If it's just one half, he's going to be fine. But he's going into the main again with the Overlords. And Blysk just isn't really ready for this. There's too much Zerg happening at once. And this army only really works when it's all together.
Yeah, I feel like either it's once again that just, like, you know, his plan's been thrown off, so he's not making good decisions. Or maybe he thought that Meomaika wouldn't be able to remax, because, yeah, he's usually on, like, 45 drones.
Yeah.
But pushing on in the middle of the map, I think both times was quite questionable. But it's definitely going to lose him the game this time. Whereas before, maybe he was critically injured, now I think he's just dead.
This is so rough too, especially with how the last game went, just kind of messing it up and giving up on that match. And now he's got 32 workers left. He's really struggling to clean up these roaches. And he's doing his best to try and micro on the fronts where he has units. But man, there's just not a lot left. These roaches are going to keep chewing through the probe lines. He's still got immortals, he's still got storms, but he's losing so much.
Even production going down, these roaches could target things like the Templar Archives. They already got the Forge, I believe, so no +2. And Blysk is once again just going to try and desperately move forward.
Yeah. He doesn't know what other answer he could possibly have at this point. He knows he just doesn't. He can sit at home and try and clean this up all day and he's just not going to get anywhere. So honestly, this is probably the best move he can make at this point in time, but unfortunately there's even spine crawlers here. Meomaika can taste that playoff spot at this point.
Yeah. Well, he definitely, like, kudos to Meomaika for actually changing things up. He did subvert our expectations by going for more economy and thus more production. And that the drop was ultimately a fantastic move, but I do also consider a lot to be like Blysk just, like, once again getting Meomaika in his head. And they must, again, be very, very painful. Not as painful as the last game. That is the most painful. He shouldn't have, maybe he shouldn't even been in the situation, but This is also pretty painful.
Yeah, this is rough. And Blysk is gonna fight this till the end. He's chasing the roaches again. I think he's realized, okay, well, I can't really attack in. This is kind of those last breaths where he's just like, oh, come on, there must be something I can do. But unfortunately, even with nice storms, it's just too much Zerg.
Oh boy. And of course, Blysk isn't going to tap out too easily. It's his last game, and he probably does feel like, I mean, all the things coming back, right? The first series going the way that it did, and then the last game going the way that it did. This game, if the Hallucinated Phoenix had seen the Overlord drops, if he hadn't moved out, so many things where this could have been just a simple game where he gets to 150, 160 supply and defends. Instead, we're at this point where he just is going to get overwhelmed.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very slow death animation here as he sort of exhausts every last avenue of attack here. He faces these roaches, and honestly, he gets a pretty good engagement. It's not really going to matter, unfortunately. He's even going to micro these Immortals down to the last. There's roaches still in his natural and main base, and I tell you what, a valiant effort from Blysk. It's good to see him out here again, but it's not this season for him. He's going to have to come back for WCS fall. And there is the GG. Meomaika is your second player into the playoffs tonight.
Oof. Tough series, but
yeah.
I guess not to focus on Blysk losing, but Meomaika winning. I was starting to kind of like typecast him, you know? I was like, he's gonna do the same thing, he's gonna have the same weaknesses. But what he played right there was actually a pretty solid macro game.
Yeah.
Like, that's the type of Zerg that gets scary when you know they have wave after wave behind that.
Yeah, he's a strange player in that sense, because I do the same thing, and I've had the opportunity to watch him for a couple of years now, and he can switch into that macro style. It just feels very random about when he decides, like, no, this is the game that I'm actually going to play a little bit more straight up than I usually would. Mm-hmm. I can't pretend to know how he reasons out his builds. Especially in like a longer series where he's ended up playing several games against the same player. But you know, it's a credit to him. He's a really good player, and even with his unique style, even when it doesn't work out, you know, he can come out ahead. And now he's in the top 8. He's in the top 8 for WCS, and that's an awesome result already.
Yeah, well done for Meomaika. Continues to, I guess, be a good like tournament player, right? You can critique his macro, his micro, or whatever, but there's no doubt that being that kind of like wild card player, what is he going to throw at me, gets you results.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the wins are what matters. It doesn't really matter how you get them. So there we go. Zepph and Meomaika for Group A advancing to the playoffs. Congratulations to both of those guys. You can give them some love on the Twitters if you're a fan of their games. And that actually wraps it up for us tonight, folks. So don't forget that Group B is going to be happening on Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Yes, we're not daylight savings anymore. Sorry, I suck at time zones. There's a preview of that group. Demi, Pez, Crimson, and Pig playing Protoss. And also worth mentioning is that ZombieGrub will be coming back, not for Group B, but on other weeks for some casting, and so will Maynard and Pig. So Pig is just going to make sure not to cast his own group, which is probably a good thing. So yeah, we'll be broadcasting this and next week for the rest of the groups, same time on Tuesdays and Thursdays. ZombieGrub, any last words from you before we sign off for the night?
Oh, thank you for carrying the cast, Zepph, and hopefully I'll be better by next week for more games. Thanks everyone for watching, and yeah, just follow me on Twitter at ZG Gaming. I guess I'll just about do it.
Yeah, that's it, guys. Send ZombieGrub some healing waves so that hopefully she's not losing her voice and having to cough next stream. That would be ideal. And thank you for carrying the cast with your sick analysis. As always, it's so great to have you back. Great to cast with you for once, because it's been pretty much a million years. So always a good time. Of course, thank you to Blizzard ANZ, our observer Insano, and Gamester for running the production. We'll see you next time, guys, on Thursday, 7:30 for Group B. That's all for us tonight. See you later.